Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Homesteading Suburbia. I'm Bennett. If you're new here, like and subscribe and follow us on our journey while we turn this lot into a working homestead in the suburbs. So today is a huge weekend. Well, these 2 days are a huge weekend at the homestead because we are getting into a project that I've been wanting to do for a while, but have been really chicken to do because I'm allergic to this project, literally. So, but I've bit the bullet. I'm going to do it, and let me take you over and I'll show you what we're getting into today. So this weekend's project is bees. So I've been wanting to keep bees since I was gardening in Brooklyn, and I've always chickened out because I am not deathly allergic, but if I get stung, which I'm sure you'll see later this summer, my arms blow up on my face or whatever, wherever I get stung blows up like I'm Popeye. But I'm not going to let that deter me. I've got a suit and gloves. I've got all the things. So I'm basically just going to get started. My bees are coming tomorrow. So I am now just going to get set up today. I've got a ton to do today. So I'm not going to do every single thing, but I want to get my first boxes ready so that the bees have a nice home to come into immediately when they come out of their box. So I just went, you can buy brand new stuff. I just went on Facebook, found a guy who was getting rid of a bunch of his old stuff. And for like 75 bucks, I picked up basically everything I needed, and all I needed to do is buy wax comb. And so right now we're just getting everything sanded down, trying to get all the old crap out of there just because I want as clean of new surface as I can for my new friends. And yeah, you can see the mices have gotten into this, and I'm just scraping out old honey and old syrup and old pollen and all this stuff and cleaning everything up. So let's get on with it, and we'll get these things painted up. So I'm not trying to go crazy, but I'm just gonna put a little 220 on here just to get these things roughed up a little bit. A couple of these are pretty old, a couple of them are not in such bad shape, but we're just gonna sand them down and get ourselves a nice roughed up surface to get our clean paint on. Okay, so now we got our new little hive tool guy here, wicked shot. Now we're just gonna scrape out the inside of this, kind of get all this old honey and old stuff as much as we can anyway. It's never gonna be perfect, but we're gonna get it all just cleaned out just to give the bees. Now these are our supers, so until later this fall when we're making honey, we're not really gonna use these boxes. Okay, so now we've got our boxes sanded. We cleaned everything up. I did sand the insides just because I wanted to get as much of the old crap out of there as possible. I am going to use the newest box for my newest deep box for the establishing of the new hive, just so they've got less chance of absconding. They've got a clean surface to work with. So now we're going to paint just the outsides with some Rust-Oleum Hunter Green, just to again make it blend in with everything. I am going to put this kind of down the back hill in the woods close to where the garden's going to be. I might move it into the garden, especially if we start getting animals in there, but I'm hoping that's not going to happen. But we do have bears, so who knows? Bears like honey, I guess, right? Winnie the Pooh. So anyway, we're going to paint just the outsides and make these things look nice. So we've got our boxes painted. They're all going to take a while to dry because it's oil-based exterior paint. So now we're going to get on to the actually really important part for starting our new hive. We've got frames. We've got a couple new ones, newer ones. We got a couple really old ones. But what we're going to do is we're going to start setting these up with our wax comb. Now, I have gone and bought pure beeswax comb with the wires in it. I'll show you this. This is just pure beeswax, and it's got these little wires on it that help hold it into the frame. So the reason I've done full beeswax is they make plastic ones, but the bees actually need to take a huge amount of energy to use to make wax. So I opted to go with the pure beeswax comb. It's pretty fragile. It's a little warmer out today, so it's not so bad. But basically, all we're going to do is we're going to take our frame and we're going to slit it. There's slots in these frames, and then at the very top, the wires are going to sit into this slot up here, and then there's a little chunk of board that comes out. Woohoo! See, some of these like really, they get out. So these little boards come out of these. You basically, when you got brand new ones, you got to cut them, but you're just going to throw it right in there like that, and that's going to hold the wax comb in place with the wires. Then we've got some 5/8 little fine finishing brads. And then we're just going to take our tack hammer very carefully, not to break the wax. And maybe I can do this with, whoop, and then you just, look, you're going to drop them. You're going to drop some into your table. Don't stress about it. And it's starting there. Boom. And there you go. 2 or 3 of those are going to hold that in. And that's going to give our bees a nice place to start building comb for whatever they need. Brood or honey stores, whatever it is that they do. So, and then there's also a couple of them we're going to do a slight bit differently. I'm going to show you that. And this is a little trick I learned from the guy I bought these from, who's a very experienced beekeeper. So there you go. And that is one frame. It's going to sit right into our box, and the bees will just build on that substrate, which is great. But we're going to do a couple of them a little differently. I'm going to show you why in a second here. Okay, so what I have learned, and again, I am not experienced at this yet, so this is just hearsay at this point, but from my logical brain, it makes sense. Basically, if you see the comb on these, everything in commercial beekeeping supply that you get on the internet is sized for large worker bees. And because those are the ones who are going to make you your honey. However, beehives need drones. They need the smaller males that are going to, do, I don't even know what they do totally, but they do different stuff than the worker female bees do. So instead of just giving them this one uniform size comb to deal with, we are going to cut them some partial comb frames. And what that's going to allow them to do is build their own comb in between here when they're ready to do it, and they'll make it then whatever size the hive needs. So if they need more honey stores that are this size or even larger, they're going to make those. If they need drone size, then that's what they're going to do. So what the guy told me is, for a couple of these, we're just going to cut out the middle section. God, and you can just break this stuff. So we're just going to cut out the middle section of these, and we're going to set that aside, and we're only going to put into our frame the 2 outside bits. And what this is, like I said, this is going to leave them a space now in between that they can put whatever size comb they need. And what we're going to do on the next one, when we get there, is we're going to put a small one in the middle and two small ones on the outside, and then we're just going to stagger that. And I'm only going to do this with 3 of these frames just to give them something to build off of. And then when we establish this hive, we get the second deep on, I'll probably do the same thing up there. That way they've just got about 6 frames worth that they can put whatever size comb that they want on there. And then this is just going to allow them, what I've read this, and then, what the gentleman I bought these from told me is, a lot of time, people wonder why colonies collapse and why bees abscond. And it kind of can sometimes come down to the diversity of the hive just isn't there, because all of these supplies are directed towards making as much honey as possible. And so for that, you just want a whole lot of, big worker bees that are as big as possible. And, that's not the way it's done in nature. So this allows us to just be a little bit closer to what nature what the bees would do in a natural hive. But obviously we still want to get honey out of this, and we still want all the stuff. So we're going to kind of mix and match here. But this is sort of the trick. And I guess we're going to look at the 1-year video. I guess we're going to see how this goes. So let's nail these in. All right, and there we go. A nice frame with some big open space for them to build whatever size comb they want. Okay, so next section, opposite, small ones on the end, big one in the middle, and that's just sort of opposite what we did for the last one. And that's just going to give us a nice open area where they've still got some stuff to build off of, but they can make their own comb in between for whatever they need. And there is our last frame. We got a full deep ready to go. All right, now, next thing's next. Okay, we've got a full deep ready for our bees. Everything's in there, comb's in there, all 10 frames. So the last thing we're gonna do with this, because our bees are gonna be here tomorrow, we are gonna throw this in the freezer for about 24 hours. I've heard 24 to 36, but what that's gonna do is if there's any larvae, mites, any sort of parasites that could possibly destroy our hive, essentially, it's going to kill that, especially since this is a used box and it's not brand new. Putting them in the freezer overnight is going to make sure that all of those things get killed, and we should have a nice, solid, clean, somewhat sterile substrate for our new hive. So let's throw it in there. So it's the next day. We've taken all of our frames out of the freezer. Hopefully they were in there long enough to kill anything that was going to be bad for our bees. And we've set up our hive, which is lovely. I got a nice spot. I chose kind of the back of the property, butted right up next to the woods. It may be a little more susceptible to animals tinkering with it, but I'm kind of hoping that doesn't happen. If not, we'll set up a fence around it. We'll see. But basically, I've just got my single deep bottom box, the top cover, and the final cover. We'll throw a rock on that. But basically, we're set up. We're ready for our ladies. So today's the day. We're gonna go get it. We'll do another video, separate video on how to take them out of their package and get them into their hive. But for now, let's just grab ourselves a nice beekeeping beverage and kick our feet up for a minute. And we'll see you next time on Homesteading Suburbia. Ah, that is lovely.